Okay, I think that's long enough for people to join. So, good afternoon, everybody. So, thank you for joining us at ProDrive today for the latest in our series of webinars. Today, we're looking at 6 reasons that accountants are more likely to be hacked. I'm expecting today's webinar to be about 20 to 25 minutes long, which gives us a little bit of time for some questions at the end. It's just me here on the webinar today, so put them in the chat as we go along, and I'll try to answer them at the end. And if we run out of time, I'll follow up with the answers after the webinar. So the point of this session is to share with you some data that we've collected on what accountants are doing with respect to cybersecurity, information security, and ultimately their cyber resilience. And then to help you improve if you want to improve. So before we get to the good stuff, just wanted to give a little bit of background on who we are, what we do, how we do it, which I think sets the context for how and why we've collected this data. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Matt Taylor. Some of you will know me. I'm the technical director at ProDrive IT. At ProDrive, we're a leading IT support provider with a focus on security, strategy, and productivity for our clients. And as you can see on the graphic there, we tend to work with clients in legal, accounting, and financial services, but not exclusively in those markets. Why we are different. We have a relentless focus on aligning our clients to best practices, keeping them aligned as new technologies or threats arise. And we do this with an alignment process that we've developed ourselves that provides real insights into the health of your IT. So, with all that said, here's our agenda for today. So, we're going to take a quick look at the background, who is attacking your company and why. Then we'll look at some data from our 2025 survey results. A little bit of analysis on the survey, sort of extracting some figures and trends from it. And then we'll get to the core, the 6 reasons that we believe accountants are more likely to be hacked. And then what can you do about it? How can we help? So, who is attacking your firm? Essentially, they fall into 4 sort of categories. We have cyber criminals, financially motivated, i.e. extortion or theft. The numbers are increasing as it's becoming easier to do. Hackers for hire is a thing. Attack tool subscriptions are a thing, so people are finding it easier to create tools to allow other people to hack companies than to do the hard work of hacking themselves and make money that way. So it's a big issue with cyber criminals. Looking at insiders, these could be malicious acts by disgruntled staff. Perhaps you've got what they call a bad lever. Well, sometimes this can be done unwittingly by an employee. Perhaps they've made a configuration mistake. Perhaps they've left a loophole open. Maybe they forgot to re-enable MFA on a service. The list goes on. But insiders are a problem. The threat isn't always external. Looking at nation states, this is one people often say, why would they be interested in me? Really, they're looking to attack firms who have clients of interest to them. So perhaps defense or pharmaceutical government companies. They might be looking to get to those companies through your company, and that's the threat to you. So these are known as supply chain attacks. And then finally, we have hacktivists. So these are motivated by cause. Good example, obvious one, oil and gas. A lot of people don't like the reliance on fossil fuels. So they will target those companies and they will target companies that are working with those companies. So it's similar to the nation states. If they can affect those companies' operations by going through you, then they will do. So all of the above have the potential to cause serious issues at your company in one way or another. Usually this boils down to money that they want, and money that it might cost you in the event that it happens. So looking at some common attack vectors, phishing emails, still working after all these years. Obviously, the inbound email filtering services are pretty good these days, but they don't capture everything. When they get through, it used to be obvious there would be bad spelling, bad grammar, just generally sort of badly produced. Now they tend to be much better crafted, possibly using AI tools, something that's been seen. But what they all tend to have in common is they will create or try to create a sense of urgency for something that needs to be done. And they could be targeted at certain staff members. There are some terms, obviously the term for this is phishing. If they're going after specific individuals, it's known as spear phishing, being a bit more precise with your spear. And if it's going after the head of a company, CEO, the MD, senior partner, then it's whale phishing. It isn't always the senior people that will get targeted. It's common to target new starters. So they will find this information through social media, through LinkedIn, and then they will target those new starters because they are less likely to be aware of company procedures, and they will be they won't know the other people in the company as well. So they won't be able to sort of spot the obvious mistakes that someone might make. So phishing is a big one. 80 to 90% of cyber breaches still come through phishing emails. Zero-day threats, it's always a good one. Love the name. Refers to how long these vulnerabilities have been known about. Literally for no days, they've just been found out about them. Criminals are very quick to exploit them, but there are certain things that you can do with monitoring software to minimize the potential for damage. So this is where they may get in through a zero-day vulnerability into your network or onto your network. But then you can catch them in the act by the types of actions they're performing once they're in. So that's the proactive monitoring software. Lots of different solutions out there for it. SIM swapping. This is going crazy at the minute. So SIM swapping is where criminals can get your mobile phone number moved onto another SIM card, and then they can receive text messages on that number as if they were you. So if they have managed to get hold of your password for a service and it's only protected by text message, SMS, multi-factor authentication, then they can get straight in because they've got everything they need. They've got the username, they've got the password, and they've got the MFA method. Using SMS text messages for MFA is now considered insecure, and the level of SIM swapping fraud that's taking place is one of the factors in that. Point two, not often thought about in this, but quite often a password reset option is available. And that uses whatever MFA method you have set up to allow you to do that password reset. So if that's via text message, then they don't even need to know your password. They just need to know your email address. They'll reset the password using your mobile number, and then they'll get in that way. Point three, websites using multiple methods of MFA. So you only need one to work, but that means a criminal determined to get in also only needs one of them to work. And if one of those is SMS, then see point two above, it's easy for them to get in. So this is a big one. Protect your phone numbers, protect your SIM card, find out what your provider can do to enable additional security on that. Okay, so having given you a little bit of background, we'll take a look and see why this is a problem for accountants. But what research have we done to find this out, and how do we do it? We speak to probably 2 or 3 different firms each week. Most of these will fill out a survey that we ask them to fill out. We use Score App for that. The link is on there. I will send it out after the webinar as well. The survey covers a variety of topics related to information security, cybersecurity, and generally the sort of IT health of the business. And it will give you a score at the end. You can see it on the graphic there. It will give you some suggestions for how you can improve a low score if you've got one as well. It's not just for accountants. We talk to many other types of firms too. We ask all of them that we talk to go through the survey so we can understand a little bit more about their business when we're talking to them. And for all of you on the webinar now, I would ask you to go onto the website. There's a link on the main page on the website to this, and run through the survey. If you've done it already, brilliant. Go through it again because things change, things move on. The survey has evolved. And you'll get an idea of where your company stands and specifically where you need to improve. If you've ever come to our stand at Accountex in London, then we take people through it live on the stand there, and we can talk to them and answer their questions sort of straight away. And there is a prize draw. So come and see us. We're there next year as well. The report will give you an overall percentage, as I said, and then breaks it down into various sections, each with their own percentage score. And so the data that I'm about to show you has all been gathered this way. We've been running it for a few years now, so we've got some pretty sort of solid data, but we're going to look at some of those individual section scores now. So you can see here that on the left column, all respondents are all the respondents that we put this through, and then I've broken out the accountant score on there. So as we run through these sections, these aren't all the sections that are in there. These are just some of them. And apologies for the colours; they're a little garish, but they do align to the colours in the report: red, bad; orange, somewhere in the middle; and green, sort of acceptable. So as you can see, there isn't a single area in any of the 7 where accountants exceed the average on all respondents. So one that struck me was it's not even as if they're sort of good at preparing budgets for their IT, but perhaps not so good at strategy. They're below par across the board, across every category. There is a little bit of good news. That continuity section at the top, both are higher this year. So all respondents last year was 64%, so they've increased by a couple of percent. Accountants last year were 54%, so they have increased as well. But in the security setting, accountants are now lower than they were last year. Again, only by a percentage point. It's not shifting much. But overall, accountants have slightly increased from 46 to 48%, but they are still below the average. So further background on the stats, this is a total of just over 100 companies that were surveyed, and accountants make up about a third of those surveyed, so they are quite a significant proportion of the companies that we speak to. So when we dig a little deeper into these stats, we look and find out that only 11% have cyber essentials. So 11% of accountants, this is not 11% overall. It was 26% overall have cyber essentials. And if you don't know what that is, cyber essentials is a UK government GCHQ backed scheme to prove that your company has a basic level of cyber hygiene. 22% didn't even know what cyber essentials is. So I think the government and the organizations that run the scheme have got an educational piece to do there. Again, that's below the average. On that, it was 19% didn't know what cyber essentials was overall. So slightly worryingly, 38% of accountants do not provide any regular form of cyber security training for their staff. And I think that's an amazing stat, really. Somewhere between a third to half of the accountants surveyed are not giving their staff even basic training on how to avoid getting hacked. 24% not have any of the following documents: the cyber security policy, which might be part of your IT policy, the cyber incident response plan, and the business continuity plan, 3 key documents that you need as a small business for a decent level of cyber resilience. And the term cyber resilience is your ability to bounce back from some sort of incident. And alongside that, 19% of accountants admitted to having never tested their backups. So that's 1 in 5 almost have never tested their backups. Overall, it was about 15% for people. So lots of things for accountants to improve on there. So why does this matter? Well, uh, stats are a little old on this. 1.5 million UK businesses fell victim to some form of cyber attack in 2023. Um, so that's every reported incident from minor phishing attacks to the likes of the big impact ones that we saw earlier, which was this year. Marks and Spencer, Co-op, Harrods, more recently, Jaguar Land Rover. The impact of those ones are very, very obvious. So what I find fascinating, and you can dig out of these, there's the Fire Industry Association, the FIA, report that about 600,000 businesses were affected by fire last year. So if we look at those stats, you are around 2.5 times more likely to suffer some sort of cyber attack than a fire, and yet less than half of businesses have a cyber insurance policy. At a recent event on cybersecurity, the theme, as I said, was cyber resilience, your ability to bounce back from a cyber attack. So no longer is it just about how many layers of defense you can put in place, how many boxes you can tick. There will be a gap. Someone will make a mistake. Something will happen, and that will lead to some sort of breach on your system. How do you deal with that? That's the point of cyber resilience. So I think there's some sort of slightly scary stats on there. You got the average cost of a cyber attack. Obviously, this is the average cost, but the smaller attacks will obviously cost a lot less. Larger attacks may cost a lot more. I think the M&S one is now up to about sort of 300 million. So the costs of these can be very significant, and they can be business ending. They can be enough to cripple your business and make it go under. I would say that those costs are in line with what we've seen when we've worked with other companies and things that we know about. So they're pretty good. Okay, so this leads on to the 6 reasons, as we said, that we feel that accountants are more likely to be hacked. So number one on this list really is the nature of the data that you hold. You will have hundreds, possibly thousands, depending on the size of your business. Just think of the data that you hold on those companies, their financial data, their payroll data. Essentially, somebody reviewing that data can establish whether your clients are a good target to go after or whether they don't have the money and therefore they won't bother. That sort of information is gold dust for hackers. Where can they put their effort into? So essentially, accountants are at higher risk than some other professions because they're seen as a good target. What we see is a lot of accountants still have a heavy reliance on email communication. So your individual firm may have this one sorted out with some sort of client portal. But when email communication is used to transmit potentially sensitive data, it can be vulnerable. It's an inherently insecure method of communication. And going back to the point that a lot of 80 to 90% of attacks are email borne. So fewer companies, fewer accountants achieve cyber essentials. So we saw in the stats earlier, so it's less than half of all the respondents in sort of percentage terms. And this is a government-backed way to prove to your clients and suppliers that you adhere to a basic level of cyber hygiene. And honestly, it is a basic level of cyber hygiene. It's good, but it really just scratches the surface of what's required. And what we expect to see is that the government will increase the bar. They will ratchet it up over time and try and sort of drag people into having a better sort of cybersecurity posture. So number 4, we saw in the stats that staff are not regularly trained on cyber threats. So one-off training when you start, one-off training once a year, it's not really good enough. Little and often is the sort of way to approach cybersecurity training. Reinforce those sort of good practices time after time, and they will people will start to sort of soak it in. Number five, generally, less accountants are less focused on cybersecurity. So again, this is from our data. What we're seeing is they have less in place than other companies in regards to cybersecurity. Whether that's a cost thing, whether that's an education thing, we don't really know. We don't have some data on that, but we just know that they are not at the same level as other companies, and that puts them at greater risk. And this is all despite being what you might think is a juicier target than other companies due to the nature of the data they hold, back on point one. Point number six, less prepared than other verticals with regards to the policies and procedures, such as the instant response plans that I mentioned before. And this is a big one, really. This cyber resilience piece is what the government are focusing on. It's the sort of the acceptance that something will happen, you will get hacked. How do you deal with it? So what steps can you take? Speak to the experts. This is a hard road to travel alone. If you have a good IT company already, then speak to them, challenge them, ask them where they think you are, even if that's just a simple sort of, out of 10, where are we? If you don't have a good IT company, or you don't get a good response from your company, come and speak to us, happily have a conversation about it. That's what we do when we talk to people and we put them through the survey to find their data, and we can offer some sort of advice and information at that point. Cyber essentials and cyber assurance. So the very process of achieving these, cyber essentials is for technical sort of controls, securing your network. Cyber assurance is the policies and procedures piece that helps you with the resilience. Just the process of achieving those will increase your understanding of the issues and raise your level of security. And cyber insurance, it sort of goes without saying, make sure that a cyber attack doesn't have the capability to end your business. As well as the financial assistance, the hand-holding that you get from the legal team and the forensic IT team that get put in place when you have an incident is invaluable. When we've seen them in action, they are amazing. In terms of specific bits of software, and assuming you're already doing the basics like patching and not running old versions of Windows or software, and you've got MFA in place and things, I would recommend company-wide password managers. Proactive security monitoring that I mentioned earlier, that can really save your bacon. That's really good stuff. And assuming you are using Office 365, like a majority of companies, make sure that your Office 365 is securely locked down, as it is inherently insecure in its default configuration. And in the T's and C's, Microsoft are very clear that it is your responsibility to secure it. It is not their responsibility. So make sure that that is happening. So what are ProDrive doing to help businesses? So we have our core offerings. Obviously, we can help take the pain away from people through our support and cybersecurity packages. But more broadly, we think this boils down to an education piece. So the webinars like this one that we put on are open to anyone. But we also have in-person roundtable events. These they're a bit more exclusive. They sort of take a few hours to go through, about 3 hours or so with breakfasts, more intimate format. It's all paid for. We cover the costs of it. The AI event that we have next, AI event, 13th of November. That's at Microsoft's London offices in Paddington, in conjunction with Microsoft. And the next instant response event is the 21st of January 2026. These are on our website under the events link, so you can sign up for them there. But we also have some free offerings for companies. We can do a free security audit. We can do a free Microsoft 365 audit on your business. And we have all of our blog and content on the website, YouTube channels, videos, lots of content out there to help you. So that is everything that I wanted to cover today. So I'm just going to check the chat to see if we've got any questions in there. That's looking through. No, no questions in there. So brilliant. My aim here today was to give you a little bit more of an understanding of why accountants are at risk and some options for what you can do about it. I hope you've found that useful. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend this. and I will send a copy of the slides out to the attendees, along with links to the various things that we talked about. So thank you very much. Goodbye.